Howdy folks, Matty with Gulf Coast Fit. And we are here kicking it in this pre-storm weather. By we I mean Luther. What's up, Luther? It's starting to get sprinkled on, so he's not sure about it. Guster always got us on lockdown. And my good friend myofascial desperado. Myofascial desperado gets me through a lot of pain. He's kind of like the fitness version of my Wilson from Castaway. That's myofascial desperado. So Gus, Luth, and Desperado and I would like to share with you a quick micro session that focuses on isometric strength. Isometric strength training. Woo, it's coming for us. Hang on there, Desperado. Isometric strength training. Darn COVID. Just kidding. Just kidding. Nothing to kid about though. Isometric strength training or static strength training can be very valuable because, for one, it's underdeveloped, and most athletes or most trainees don't focus a lot on isometric strength because it tends to be less sexy, less exciting, less engaging. But what's really engaging and sexy and exciting is getting results. And you get results by strengthening your weaknesses. And if you don't do isometric training, chances are it's a weakness. So what I like to say is that we spend a lot of time becoming strong, explosive, powerful, developing all different strength capacities while moving our body weight or moving an external load, but it's very beneficial, maybe equally as valuable to become seasoned and experienced at being able to resist being moved around. So we're good at pushing things around. We need to also be good at not getting pushed around. And that's kind of what isometric strength training is in a nutshell. Maintaining your position, your form and technique in a static hold in all different ways. So I want to give you a quick, make this a circuit style isometric workout with 3 different variations or emphases. Upper body pushing, upper body pulling, kind of full posterior pulling, and then lower body pushing and pulling. So 4 different emphases. Upper body push pull, lower body push pull. So let's run through these. Got myofascial desperado spotting me. What we're gonna start with is upper body pulling. Now each of these sections will encompass 3 variations. We're gonna start in a prone position, holding an isometric contraction for our entire back, from our upper back, mid to our lower lumbar spine and spinal erectors. And we're gonna hold different types of Luther's pretty tough, scaring away the 8-year-old skateboarding girls. All right, so we're gonna hold a W raise, a Y raise, and an A raise. And so I'm gonna start with a 15-second round on everything we do today. And then I'll explain to you how we can progress these rounds. So starting with a W, arms are bent out to the sides, making kind of a W shape. I'm going to lift my chest, my ribs, squeeze my shoulder blades, retract and squeeze, externally rotate, lifting the palms, and I'm holding this. I'm not just holding it, but I'm actually squeezing my back as hard as I can. And I know I'm talking right now, but I'm doing it for roughly 15 seconds in my mind, which is right about there. Boom. So, could I have held that much longer? Yes. But I was making the most out of that 15 seconds by squeezing my posterior delts, my external rotators, my traps and rhomboids in between my scapulas, my lats, my pull-up muscles, even my lower back, pushing my pubic bone and ribs into the ground, pushing my quads into the ground to lift like a cobra and squeeze my upper posterior as hard as I could. So I was making the most out of that 15 seconds. Next, I'm gonna go into a Y raise. A Y raise is more about the mid to upper back, less about the lower back, but it's still engaged in an isometric fashion. So what I'm gonna do is start down in this prone position, and I've got my thumbs up. Might not be able to see that. I'm making a Y with my arms now. So arms are extended, and now I'm lifting. You see, I'm not bringing my entire torso up, but this is a different type of exercise that focuses more on the upper back and posterior delts. Lifting my thumbs up to the sky. This is actually a much more challenging prone lift variation for me. Trying to squeeze my upper traps, squeeze my posterior delts. Breathe steady. And good, all right. Now, when I was making those little jerky movements, I was just emphasizing to you that I'm lifting as hard as I can. When isometric work, you want to stay as static as possible. So maybe that was about 15 seconds, maybe longer. Again, I'm focusing on making those the most intense 15 seconds possible. All right, moving along to the third prone raise variation for the upper posterior. This is an A raise. So now I'm gonna put my hands down to my sides, palms facing down, making an A with my arms, or an upside down V. So now, much more lats, much more triceps, but still squeezing my traps and rhomboids and really all of my spinal erectors. This one's kind of in between the W raise and the Y raise in how high I lift my torso off the ground by pushing down into my pubic bone, my quadriceps, and my toes. So raising up into an A, you'll see my chest is off the ground, but not as much as it was on the W. Squeezing my lats as hard as I can. This is actually the strongest variation so far because it's really lat dominant. Lats are big, strong muscles. I'm squeezing them as hard as I can. Again, I'm just using kind of an internal clock right now, but 15 seconds was the target. Now that was actually pretty intense. I was squeezing my lats as hard as I would if I were holding the top of a pull-up, a paused rep on a pull-up. And that's really what that's a huge benefit to isometric work. What's up, Luther? To isometric work is that you're developing your mind-muscle connection. The better you can develop your mind-muscle connection, especially with just your body weight, then the stronger you'll be when you're adding an external load, be it dumbbells, kettlebells, whatever. All right, so gonna move on to lower body. Let's see, I just did upper posterior pulling, so I'm gonna do lower body pressing. Now, when you're pushing with the lower body, it's typically a squat movement pattern. And so, simply going to be holding I'm giving you three different variations because with isometric training, you strengthen your muscle groups relative to the joint angle that you're performing the isometric work at. So, you see I put my upper body, my shoulders, elbows back in different joint angles on those three prone lifts. I'm gonna do the same with squats here. Ooh, those trees look pretty in the back. Cool. All right, see how much crud I got in my coffee. Please don't knock it over, Gus. Whew, that was close. There we go, the first squat variation I'm gonna hold. Now you can hold different heights or different stances. I'm gonna start in what would be a normal squat stance for me. Give you a side view. I'm gonna go down into a full squat. Thighs are parallel to the ground. Now I'm not just holding this, I'm squeezing my butt, flexing my quads, my calves, and my abs as tight as possible, making this the most intense 15 seconds possible. Whew. Now, I've been practicing various types of resistance and strength training for a while now, and you might see that my legs were shaking there. Now, my legs were shaking because, and that was uncontrollable. I was flexing so hard that they were just vibrating on me. They were contracting so hard to me, and that wasn't because of fatigue. 15 seconds isn't very long. I can hold an iso squat, much longer than that, safe to say. But I was contracting so hard and making that 15 seconds so intense with my glutes, hammies, and quads that they were just freaking out on. My nervous system didn't know what to do there. All right, second squat variation. These are all going to be full squats, meaning that my hip is even or below the knee joint, or right around the knee joint, so the thighs are parallel to the ground and horizontal. Now I'm going to go into a narrow stance squat. I'm going to scoot up so you can see what my knees are doing. Narrow stance means more knee flexion and more quad recruitment. I was here, now I'm here. Also, my toes will be angled out a little bit. Actually, I'm going to point you down so you can see what I'm talking about. You're going to feel the difference here. Coming down. That's an unflattering view. All right, here we go. Got the narrow stance. I definitely feel that I'm loading my quads much more right now. I'm still squeezing quads, hammies, glutes, calves, core, which glutes are part of your core, but I mean abs. Ooh. Oh yeah. Now, my legs were really starting to feel the burn, kind of like I was doing a heavy set of squats. Your body doesn't know if you're dealing with a load or not. All your body knows, all your muscles and your nervous system knows is how hard you're asking them to contract. So adding a weight, adding a load, an external resistance is simply a tool to make your muscles contract harder. But we're working on gaining that capability, that skill, without an external load, which is pretty darn cool. Last, third and final squat variation, we'll do a wide stance, hip dominant squat. See the difference here. Extra wide stance. I'm gonna sit back now. See, I've got wide stance. I'm not trying to give you a butt view, but I want you to see the difference. Loading my hammies, adductors, and glutes a lot more. I'm gonna flex my butt as hard as I can. Weights in my heels. Oh yeah. Now I took that a little longer than 15 seconds, I think, because that's a strong type of squat. Tapping into hammies and glutes, hip dominant squat, it's a lot stronger. And so it might be, when unloaded, harder to get as much as you can possibly get, potentiate what you're capable of isometrically. All right, so moving back onto upper body pressing, push-ups, easy. I mean, that's an easy variation to implement. It's the first thing you probably think of when you think of body weight, upper body pressing. Let's give you a Gus point of view here. What's up? Myofascial desperado can guard my coffee from debris going into it. All right, so 3 different types of isometric push-up holds. I'm gonna start in a low push-up, chest almost to the deck. I'm actually gonna start on the deck and push up just a little bit to lift my body up off the ground. The rest of my body, this is really full body, but we're doing it for upper body pressing. The rest of my body is maintaining a rigid, stiff plank. Perfect plank from head to toe. Starting on the ground, squeezing my shoulder blades. Hands are right under my armpits by my ribs. Retracting and squeezing the upper back, squeezing the glutes. Big breath. Lift. And I'm just barely off the ground. Squeezing my butt as hard as I can. Clenching my pecs. Feel the triceps and shoulders. I'm doing that for upper body pressing, I was squeezing my pecs as hard as possible by trying to essentially draw the ground together. Not just pushing down into the ground, I'm squeezing the ground together, which engages my pecs, especially the sternal portion of my pecs right in here in the man cleavage. So now moving on to a high end range of a push-up. You could call this a high plank, or you could call this the top of a push-up. Whatever. Our arms are just locked out now. So this one, typically easier, which gives you a good opportunity to make it your goal to make these 15 seconds as hard as possible. Triceps, shoulders, pecs, abs, glutes, quads, lower back, everything is rigid and engaged. Again, even though we're doing something for a particular intention or objective, which is upper body pressing, it's still full body. And flex. Drawing my hands together, flexing my triceps hard, flexing so hard it's hard to breathe. Oh yeah, okay. Again, I'm not timing these, but I'm doing what I think is a safe 15 seconds. I'm pretty conservative with timing too, so probably it's more like 18, 20 seconds. I'll check after this video. Third push-up variation, third upper body pressing is a half push-up. Elbows at 90 degrees, halfway into a push-up. To initiate with a good quality contraction, I like to start on the ground and then push up till my elbows are at 90 degrees. So coming down, shoulders tight, big breath, coming up halfway. Yep, yep. Oh yeah, ooh, that was a good one. Again, I'm making this 15 seconds all out. A lot of times with an isometric exercise for time, you're just trying to get through it, just trying to hold a position. This is kind of the opposite. I'm not just trying to get through it. I'm trying to make it as hard as possible. Instead of the task being inherently very hard, which would be like doing an isometric exercise for volume, for time duration. If I was gonna hold that for 2 minutes, I don't need to make it any harder. It's gonna be hard just to make it to 2 minutes. On the flip side, other end of the spectrum, and the more mind-muscle connection-based end of the spectrum, 15 seconds, making that effective for me is extremely challenging. It takes a lot of focus. I've got to dig deep within and make sure all of my ducks are in a row throughout the entire body, full contraction. Brain and nervous system are freaking out, and that's a good thing here. Last section here, we're gonna move back to lower body. This is gonna be lower body, hey Luther, it's gonna be lower body, we're gonna say it's lower body pulling. Squats are definitely lower body pushing. However, we're doing bridges now. And a bridge, technically we're pressing into the ground, but since this is to focus on our hip extension, hamstrings and glutes, posterior dominant, as opposed to squats, which are a little more anterior quadricep dominant, we're counting this as lower body pulling. Ooh, starting to sprinkle on us. All right, first bridge variation. First bridge variation. Oh man, I'm getting rained on now. From hot and sunny to windy and rainy. I dig it. Oh wow, it's raining hardcore right now. Go inside, puppies. Alright, I'm gonna weather the storm and get you through this last segment. Because this is Gulf Coast Fit. The rain is irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is focusing on the task at hand. All right, check it. I'll keep you over here under the awning. You got to save the coffee. Oh man, thank you, Desperado, myofascial Desperado. All right. Here we are. Today was shower day for me anyway. I shower every Saturday, and so this is just helping. First bridge variation. Feet tucked all the way in under the knees, feet close together, about hip width. Thrusting up, I'm squeezing my glutes as hard as I can. Posterior pelvic tilt, belly button tucked into the spine. Lower glutes and tailbone tucked under. Helps neutralize my lower back. And I'm squeezing my glutes as hard as I can on there, and my calves, and my lower back, and my hamstrings. Doing pretty good because I feel like I'm about to get a cramp right now. Oh. You see that? I kind of forgot to breathe for a sec. Yeah, keep thinking. Got to stay focused and be present on something, even as simple as an isometric training. All right, let's go right into our next bridge variation. Wide stance. Feet are a little bit further away from me. You see my feet aren't tucked in. Legs are extended a little bit more. Knees are open. And thrust. Squeezing as hard as possible. Now it might look like my lower back is overextending and overarching, but I'm actually just maintaining my natural lumbar curve. I feel this more on the outside of the glute hammy tie-in. Still tucking in with the posterior pelvic tilt. Oh, I was about to induce a cramp there, right in that target. Again, this tells me I'm doing a good job because I'm pretty darn hydrated, so that's not an issue. Third and final hip thrust or bridge variation. We're going to incorporate the calves a little bit more into it. I'm going to bring my feet together, feet away a little bit, and I'm going to push through the balls of my feet like I'm doing a calf raise. And there we go. Now, it might not look like I'm incorporating the calves much because my heels are down, but I'm actually pushing into the balls of my feet, which lights up my hamstrings and calves much more. Oh, calf cramp. That's not a bad thing. Ooh. Oh, I love isometric training. It's so effective, such a big bang for your buck training modality, very economical as far as simplicity, lack of equipment, time, and density. Training economy is a wonderful thing, something that we always strive for. So let me touch base on a couple things. Whew, that was good. So I just did 15 seconds roughly of everything. Welcome back, Desperado. Just did roughly 15 seconds of each variation of upper body pulling, lower body pushing with the squats, upper body pushing with the push-ups. The upper body pulling was the prone raises, and then lower body pulling. Now, I recommend starting with 15 seconds, doing everything as a circuit like I just did. It was really a tri-set. Upper body pulling tri-set, 3 things for the upper body posterior. Lower body pushing tri-set with the 3 squats. Upper body pushing tri-set with the 3 push-ups. Then a lower body pulling tri-set with the 3 bridge variations. But I went through that, as a full body circuit. So you can repeat that again for round 2, shoot for 30 seconds. Or you can run through it round 2, another round of 15 seconds of everything. Now that's, it's relative to the individual. That might be enough for you on day 1, the first time doing this workout. And that's because if you're not used to contracting that hard and holding a static pause, flexing as hard as possible, you never know. You might actually be sore, you might be cramping up, running through those. Technically, we just did 12 different exercises for 15 seconds each. So when you progress, you can progress a couple ways. You can go through another round doing 15 seconds. You could go through a third round doing 15 seconds again. 3 rounds of 15 seconds of everything. Excuse me. Or you can move up in duration. Maybe you do 1 round of 30 seconds of everything, or 2 rounds of 30 seconds of everything. Or you can ascend. First round, 15 seconds. Second round, 30 seconds. Shoot, you could go up to a minute. With this type of objective of strength, I wouldn't go any more than a minute. We're not trying to venture into stamina. We're trying to use this isometric workout to enhance force production, which you can do. It just takes a lot of focus, a lot of concentration, a lot of discipline, and a lot of practice. So give it a go. You can certainly add an external load too on down the line, but we're working on mind-muscle connection and ease of entry, being able to do this anywhere, hotel room, on a boat, in the rain, with puppies, on top of a car, whatever. Let me know what questions you have. Give it a go. Thank you.